Good day. Welcome back to the Vitality Project. I'm Dr. Bob. Yesterday, we together pressed the pause button, of our currently, I believe, very stress-filled lives. I think every one of us can relate to that. And we did this to see if there might not also be moments of peace and serenity, or even of unprecedented clarity right amidst the challenges that we all face right now during this time of pandemic, these days of quarantine. So let me ask you, in terms of pressing the pause button and reflecting for a few minutes about any moments of clarity, any moments of serenity you've had, how did that go for you? What did you find? All I know for sure is this, is that when I speak each week, it's now completely online to all the individuals and groups that I meet with every week in and around addiction recovery. Over one half of the individuals I meet with, just a rough estimate, it's at least one half of them readily identify with the description that we shared yesterday of limit situations. Remember, we drew on Eckhart Tolle, who himself drew on the 20th century German psychiatrist Karl Jaspers with this idea of limit situations. And what I mean by that is that my clients readily describe the enormous value they have encountered themselves, even amidst a time of easily apparent losses across the board. Every one of them has experienced that as a function of active addiction and the fallout from that. And yet every one of them, when they've reached the limits of their capacity, the limits of the known world for them, in the 12-step language, every one of them has hit bottom in some form or another. Half of them will talk about having received great benefit, clarity, and even some of them talk about serenity that they've experienced. Now, I'm not at all suggesting you may have their exact experience in terms of severe addiction to substance, in your own life. But I believe that all of us know enslavement of some kind to counterproductive or even self-defeating beliefs or attitudes. And if you'll recall from previous conversations, we've described enslavement as the root understanding of the Latin word addictus. So our word for addiction comes from the Latin word addictus, which means slave. So addiction really can be properly understood in its root sense as enslavement. And I think that all of us know about that. And insofar as we all know about enslavement of one kind or another, I want to ask you this again. Have you perhaps caught a glimpse of new sources of freedom or liberation as a result of our living in this limit situation that Eckhart Tolle and Karl Jaspers talked about? These past weeks and months of lockdown, pressed to the limit in terms of hardship and stress. I wonder if you've had any glimpses of insight into ways of being free from the things that you think, believe, do that themselves are counterproductive or even self-defeating. So that brings us to today's homework assignment, and that is I want you to take a moment or two today to pinpoint just one area of enslavement. And remember, that's our broader definition here, and throughout all of our conversations of addiction, enslavement. I want just if you can pinpoint one area of enslavement in your life. And I want you to add to that any insights, any awarenesses, any new incentives that you've discovered that have been presented to you really as a meaningful side effect of this current, highly unusual time, unprecedented in our history, of profound limitation and hardship across the board. Have you had any peeks into another way of living? I want you to remember this as we finish up. One of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal in managing stress, including the stress that we're all going through right now, is, in one word, meaning. If we can find meaning, even amidst the challenges that we face, that gives us a huge leg up in terms of being able to manage and move through this stress. Yesterday, as we finished up, I gave a gratitude to all of our first responders, and I finished up, and I want to do that again today by underscoring that there's an example that amidst the challenges that first responders right now especially face, healthcare workers, law enforcement officers, emergency medical personnel, the list goes on. And if we expand it to include all essential workers, all of these individuals face a level of stress that is beyond imagining, and they do it every day for the sake of all the rest of us that are in lockdown. And so if there's a way for us to convey to these individuals, so if you have a family member or a friend, to convey to them the gratitude that we have for what they're doing, that gives you a sense of something that if they're able to accept and receive that, it might just be that meaning or that sense of value, of being valued, that helps get them around the corner of these very stressful times. So I invite you to do that as well, okay? Stay healthy, be well, take good care until we see each other again. Thank you for joining me today at the Vitality Project.